I am back working on my temperature blanket. This is January and February the 1st to the 4th. Now I'm going to start knitting for February the 5th. So let's get started on knitting more of the temperature blanket. So now I went ahead and cut off the green. Okay. I am working on February the 5th, 46 Fahrenheit. I'm going to go ahead and add on the dark teal for February the 5th. I'm just adding on the dark teal, and I'm going to go ahead and knit 2 rows of the dark teal. So I'm going to go ahead and knit all the way across for row 1, and then I'm going to knit all the way back in dark teal for February the 5th. So let's just go ahead and knit all the way across. I'm near the end of my row, dark teal, February the 5th. This was row 1. I'm going to knit all the way across for row 2 for February the 5th. Dark teal. Continue knitting all the way across. I'm finishing up the dark teal for the second row, and then I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next day, and we'll see what color comes next. Okay. I'm on February the 6th, 42 Fahrenheit. I'm using varsity blue, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off the dark teal. February the 6th, 42 Fahrenheit, and I'm going to add on the varsity blue and continue knitting all the way across and all the way back. I'm adding on varsity blue, February the 6th, 42 Fahrenheit, and I'm just going to go ahead and knit all the way across. Knitting all the way across for row 1, and then I'll knit all the way back in varsity blue. All right, February the 6th, row 1, varsity blue. I am finished with row 1. I'm going to go ahead and knit all the way across for row 2, and then we'll start our next day. So just continue knitting all the way across. All right, so February the 6th, varsity blue, I'm finishing up my second row. And I'm going to start on my next day. All right, I'm cutting off the varsity green for February the 6th. I'm on February the 7th, 48 Fahrenheit. I'm going to add on the forest green. My temperature is 48 Fahrenheit. I'm going to add on the forest green. So we're going to start row 1, February the 7th, temperature 48 Fahrenheit. And I'm just going to go ahead, add on the forest green. All right, let's knit that in. Okay, varsity blue. February the 7th, I just added on the forest green, temperature 48 Fahrenheit, and I'm going to go ahead and knit row 1 all the way across, and then I'll knit row 2 all the way back. I'm just finishing up row 1 for February the 7th in the forest green. I'm going to continue to knit for row 2 all the way across, and then I'll work on my next day and next color if there is one. Continue knitting. Just continue knitting all the way across. 2 rows per day. I'm finishing up February the 7th on my second row, forest green, and I'm going to go ahead and add on the next color. All right, so we're going to go to the next day. I am cutting off the forest green. I'm on February the 8th, 53 Fahrenheit. I'm going to go ahead and add on the varsity green. Just adding on the varsity green, and I'm going to go ahead and knit all the way across for row 1. All right, I'm going to continue knitting all the way across varsity green. I'm working on my second row for February the 8th of the varsity green, and I'm going to go ahead and knit all the way across, and then we'll continue on our next day. Knit all the way across. I'm finishing up the second row for February the 8th with the varsity green. I'm going to go ahead and move on to my next day. All right. I'm cutting off my varsity green. I'm on February the 9th. We're using a varsity gold. The temperature was 66 Fahrenheit. I'm going to go ahead and add on the varsity gold. I'm going to knit all the way across for row 1. I'm nearing the end of row 1 for February the 9th. We're using a varsity gold. And then I'm going to knit all the way back in varsity gold for February the 9th. So just knit all the way across for row 2. I'm near the end of row 2 for February the 9th, varsity gold. Temperature 66 Fahrenheit. I'm finishing this row, and now we're going to start on our next color, if there is one. I'm on February the 10th, and the temperature was 64 Fahrenheit. I am going to continue knitting with varsity gold. So row 1 of varsity gold for February the 10th, knit all the way across. .64 Fahrenheit. We're knitting all the way across. I'm finishing row 1 for February the 10th, varsity gold. I'm going to go ahead and knit all the way across for row 2 for February the 10th. The temperature was 64 Fahrenheit. So just knit all the way across, and we'll move on to our next day. I'm finishing up row 2 for February the 10th, 64 Fahrenheit, and I'm ready to start on a new day. I'm cutting off the varsity gold. I'm on February the 11th, 49 Fahrenheit. I'm going to add on forest green. Continue knitting for row 1 in forest green all the way across February the 11th. I'm just finishing row 1 for February the 11th. We're using a forest green. Row 1, and now I'm going to work on row 2 for February the 11th. So I'm just going to knit all the way across and then start my new day. I am finishing row 2 of February the 11th. Forest green. Now I'm going to move on to my next day and next color, if there is one. I'm on February the 12th. I'm going to cut off the forest green. February the 12th, dark teal, 47 Fahrenheit. So I'm going to go ahead and add on the dark teal, row 1, and I'm going to knit all the way across. Row 1, February 12th, knitting all the way across, 47 Fahrenheit. I am finishing row 1 of February the 12th. I'm going to go ahead and knit all the way across in the dark teal for February the 12th, and then on to our next day. Just go ahead and knit all the way across for row 2. I'm finishing up row 2, February the 12th, dark teal, 47 Fahrenheit, and then I'm going to move on to my next day. I'm cutting off my dark teal. February the 13th, 42 Fahrenheit, I'm going to add on varsity blue. Adding on varsity blue, and I'm going to go ahead and knit all the way across, and this is for February the 13th. Knitting row 1 all the way across. February the 13th, I'm finishing up with varsity blue for row 1, and then I'm going to continue on with row 2 varsity blue, February the 13th. The temperature is 42 Fahrenheit. Just knit all the way across, and then we'll start on our new day. Continue to knit all the way across for row 2, February 13th. I'm finishing up row 2 of February 13th, 42 Fahrenheit. And now I'm going to start on the next day. Okay, varsity blue. Don't have to change colors. That's what I like. That's what I like. I'm on a February the 14th, 41 Fahrenheit, varsity blue. So I'm just going to continue knitting all the way across row 1, varsity blue. Just knit all the way across, February the 14th. I'm finishing up row 1 for February the 14th. I'm using varsity blue, and then I'm going to knit all the way across for row 2 and start my next day. So just knit all the way across in varsity blue. All right, I just finished knitting February the 14th, varsity blue. I did 2 rows. I just finished knitting February the 5th to February the 14th. Now I'm going to go ahead and work on the other dates. Today is February the 19th, and I'll work on February the 15th to the 19th, another day. But this is what the blanket looks like after knitting February the 5th to February the 14th. Like, subscribe, and I'll see everyone next time. Happy knitting.